A strong flagship chip in the Dimensity 9200 Plus, coupled with potentially insane amount of RAM for a smartphone, a large 12-bit AMOLED panel with a 144Hz refresh and a 1.5K resolution, a premium glass sandwich build with IP68, a very aggressive price. Now these are just some of the highlights of Redmi's latest phone, the K60 Ultra. Hey guys, Ash here, and today on C4 Tech, let's unbox and take a look at everything Redmi K60 Ultra. So first, let's get the unboxing over with. This is the box the K60 Ultra comes in. It's got a very familiar oversized golden text. Now since I'm currently traveling, I don't have my knife handy, so I'm gonna use this pen instead. So let me go ahead and peel the plastic off. Beat it up. As of now, the rumor mill indicates this K60 Ultra should go global as the Mi 13T Pro. Would you like to see that? Let me know in the comments. Now opening up the box, we are greeted by this black Redmi insert. This one houses the SIM ejector tool alongside some regular leaflets and a soft TPU case. Alright, let's now get to the start of the show, the K60 Ultra itself. Removing it from its protective plastic cover. Oh, this is the black version. It's got that carbon fiber look going for it. Funnily enough, this is not what I ordered. What I wanted was this, the green. Looks like the seller I bought it from sent me the wrong SKU. Now talking about colors, Xiaomi also offers this in white in case that's something you're interested in. Now before we discuss performance, which is absolutely insane, let's get a few other things out of the way. The K60 Ultra comes with a screen protector pre-applied that I'm gonna remove in order to be able to show you guys the display better. Now as the Ultra boots, let's set it aside and get back to the box. We have a white USB Type-A to Type-C cable with orange accents, which is followed by a 120 watt fast charger. Now Redmi claims the 5000 mAh battery on the inside can be charged from 0 to 100 in just 19 minutes, which is quite impressive. It's also worth noting that they've included their own Surge P1 and G1 chips here for better battery health and charging efficiency. Cosmetically, the K60 Ultra looks nice, but it doesn't really stand out. Even the color options are pretty mundane. It feels like Redmi is playing it pretty safe here, because even when you look at something like the Note 12 Pro with that white, they took a bigger risk with that. That said, this phone, it does feel solid in hand. It weighs in at about 200 grams and feels quite robust. It's relatively slim at 8.5mm, and the glass to the back, it curves at the edges, which helps when you hold it. Now the back being glass means yes, it feels premium, but at the same time, it's slippery AF and attracts fingerprints and smudges quite easily. Now do note that the sides are plastic, which is why we have no antenna lines. Up top, we have the secondary mic, IR blaster and a speaker. Xiaomi's remote control app comes pre-installed, so it lets you control devices around the house if you want to. Now the power and volume keys are present to the right. I see no issue with the placements. They are comfortable to hit and the buttons themselves are pretty clicky and tactile. Now to the bottom, we get the primary speaker, USB Type-C port and the dual SIM tray. Now while there is no microSD support or a headphone jack, there is NFC, and for the first time on a Redmi phone, they've gone ahead and included an IP68 rating, which in my humble opinion is a welcome addition. Now while the back curves, the display up front doesn't. So if you hate curved panels, you're really gonna like this one. So this is the standard Xiaomi size, 6.67 inches. It's an excellent AMOLED panel. It's got a 1.5K resolution, so sharper than others in the same price segment. It's got a 144Hz refresh with a 480Hz touch sampling rate and 2880Hz PWM dimming for flicker-free usage under low light. Now this also happens to be a 12-bit panel with support for Dolby Vision and HDR10+, and here's the kicker. The brightness peaks at 2600 nits. So using this phone outdoors under the sun, it shouldn't be an issue at all. Now sitting underneath this display is an optical fingerprint scanner, and it seemed pretty fast and responsive, really no complaints there. Now the other mode of biometric authentication is via the selfie camera, which happens to be a 20 megapixel Sony IMX596 that's been paired with a f2.2 lens that has autofocus. Now this selfie camera, it seems to do a good job with the detail, with the dynamic range. It all seems nice, at least in my initial impressions. The portrait mode also appears to be competent with reasonably good edge detection. With selfie video though, again, the footage itself felt good on detail, and the EIS and audio pickup seem to have been well implemented. Sadly, we are still restricted to 1080p. Redmi doesn't even offer a 60 fps option here. Moving on, to the back, we have a triple camera setup. I really like how this array looks. Here, instead of a sharp fall off at the edges, Redmi have it smoothly sloping on all four sides. It doesn't do anything, it's not a big deal. I just think cosmetically, this is a good look. Now for the primary camera, Redmi's gone with Sony's IMX800 sensor. Now this here is a 50 megapixel sensor that's been paired with an optically stabilized f1.7 lens. Now if this sensor sounded familiar to you, that's cause this is the same one we've seen in the past on the likes of the Xiaomi 13 and the Redmi K60 Pro. It seems to do a fair job. The images seem rich, detail looks to be above average. Now guys, I sure do like the UAE as much as the next guy, but the weather there leads to very grey skies. I love finally being able to shoot sky that's blue, and I feel the K60 Ultra has done a fine job reproducing the shot the way it was. Of course, under good light these days, we expect most phones priced over a few $100s to do well. It's how it fares under low light that's more important, especially in this segment, and I feel even here Redmi's done quite well. Images have low noise levels and the detail, it feels above average. It's not gonna dominate the segment or anything, but see these shots, they were taken at a park with no lights around. What I was seeing was actually a whole lot darker than what you're seeing here. Given those conditions, I feel the images ended up pretty good. Now moving on to the second sensor, this is an ultra wide, once again a Sony sensor, the IMX355. Now this we've seen on a lot of phones already and there are no surprises here. It's not the greatest with detail retention, but the dynamic range is above average and I really like how Redmi's match the colors quite nicely with the primary. Now the third sensor making up the triple camera array is a 2 megapixel macro put there for the sole purpose of inflating the numbers. Now moving on to video, the K60 Ultra can do up to 8K 24 FPS and Redmi mentions that it's without any time limitations. They seem to be confident about the cooling they are using. That said, in my short time with this phone so far, it did throw up this message when I was trying to run a 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme stress test. It actually happened twice, so I'm not sure how good the cooling actually is. It could be a dud, it could be a software issue that gets fixed with an update. At this point, I feel it's too early to tell. Now for what it's worth, outside of stress tests, the K60 Ultra didn't actually feel too hot for regular use. Even with gaming, when I tried running a few games, it got warm, but it didn't get very hot or anything. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get back to video. 4K 60 is pretty good. There seems to be some slight over sharpening going on here, but the footage is stable. Overall, I'd call it good. Okay, time to talk about this phone's biggest selling point, the chip on the inside. The K60 Ultra, which weirdly is cheaper than the K60 Pro, also happens to be more powerful thanks to MediaTek's flagship silicon. The Dimensity 9200 Plus is what Redmi's gone with, and the benchmark numbers, as you can see, pretty insane. This is also the first non-gaming phone to offer up to 24 whopping gigs of LPDDR5X RAM as an option alongside up to a terabyte of UFS 4.0 storage. Now there is another phone it actually stole the thunder from, and that's the OnePlus Ace 2 Pro. So are you guys interested in seeing a video of the Ace 2 Pro or maybe a comparison between these two? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, the chip on the inside is very powerful, and while I was not able to successfully run a stress test, I did try multiple games and they ran very smoothly without any kind of overheating. Also, the stereo speakers do sound nice, loud, rich, clear. Have a listen. Now as for pricing, the K60 Ultra starts at 2599 RMB, which means just like the Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 2 sporting Redmi Note 12 Turbo, I feel this one also happens to offer amazing value. The sheer amount of performance for the asking price, it's nuts. Even when you look at the top 24 gig RAM 1TB SKU, the pricing, it's still reasonable, it's still pretty aggressive. You know what else is pretty aggressive? Xiaomi's update promise. Xiaomi has now matched Samsung by offering 4 years of Android version updates and 5 years of security patches for this phone. Now, Xiaomi has never been synonymous with great update policies, so it's nice to see them pay attention to this, and it's nice to see them try to do better. Now, as of today, the user experience on the K60 Ultra, I'd call it good. It's your standard MIUI affair. Out of the box, there is a lot of bloat, but all these can be uninstalled pretty quickly. This here is MIUI 14 built on top of Android 13, and given the 144Hz refresh, this phone feels very snappy, very responsive. You get the typical MIUI positives like in-depth customization options. You also get the typical MIUI negatives like recommendations everywhere. There is not a lot new here. In other words, removing the bloat, turning off recommendations, that is gonna take you a little bit of time. But once you've done that, the user experience should be excellent from that point on. So I guess that's pretty much everything K60 Ultra for today. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.